This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Daniel Pantaleo, the police officer who killed Eric Garner in 2014 by using an illegal chokehold, was fired Monday and stripped of his pension benefits. The decision came more than 5 years after Pantaleo held Garner, an unarmed African-American man, in a chokehold until he dropped to the ground, gasping, "I can't breathe," 11 times. Despite outcry from the family, Pantaleo had remained on the police force on desk duty since the killing. In a dramatic news conference, New York Police Commissioner James O'Neill announced his decision to finally fire Pantaleo.
In this case, the unintended consequence of Mr. Garner's death must have a consequence of its own. Therefore, I agree with the Deputy Commissioner of Trials' legal findings and recommendations. It is clear that Daniel Pantaleo can no longer effectively serve as a New York City police officer. In carrying out the court's verdict in this case, I take no pleasure. I know that many will disagree with this decision, and that is their right. There are absolutely no victors here today. Not the Garner family, not the community at large, and certainly not the courageous men and women of the police department, who put their own lives on the line every single day in service and to the people of this great city.
Police Commissioner O'Neill's firing of Officer Pantaleo comes 2 weeks after a police administrative judge found him guilty of violating a department ban on chokeholds. Until Monday, Pantaleo had remained on the police force on desk duty. A New York grand jury decided in 2014 not to charge him. Last month, on the 5th anniversary of Garner's death, the Justice Department declined to charge Pantaleo with a crime despite calls by the Garner family and their supporters that the city punish him and other officers involved. Over the years, Garner's case has helped drive the Black Lives Matter movement for police accountability. At a rally outside police headquarters, Eric Garner's mother, Gwen Carr, vowed Monday to fight any appeals Daniel Pantaleo's attorney, Stuart London, says he plans to file, and called on the New York City Police Department to fire the other officers involved in Garner's case.
It's just disheartening to go through this. And like we said, we're not finished. We have other officers that we have to go after. You have heard the names. We know the wrongdoing that they have done. Show the pictures, say the names, do the roll call, because they all need to lose their jobs. New York is not safe with officers out here like that.
That was Eric Garner's mother speaking Monday. For more, we're joined by his youngest daughter, Emerald Garner. Welcome to Democracy Now!
Morning.
It can never be said enough, our condolences on the death of your dad.
Thank you.
Your response to what happened yesterday, to the firing of Daniel Pantaleo?
It somewhat puts my family at ease, because although it took 5 years, it's like, you know, it should have happened a long time ago, but we're grateful that it's happened now, that finally someone sees what we see.
So he has been fired, but he has not been charged with a crime.
Right,
Can you talk about what this means?
Well, for me, this means that if we, follow the proper channels, we can have the case reopened and he will be tried as a civilian and not as a police officer.
Explain what you mean.
Meaning, like, when in this process he had the union who would represent him, his union reps and everything. But when you're not a police officer anymore, you don't have union reps. You're a regular New York City civilian just like everyone else. So he should be charged as someone who wasn't wearing a shield would be charged if they would have murdered Eric Garner.
I want to ask you about the New York Police Department judge who recommended that Pantaleo be fired, saying he was untruthful and the account of Eric Garner's death was implausible and self-serving.
Absolutely. All of the testimony was a bunch of lies. What they said on 7/17 was not what they said at the trial, the CCRB trial. And I do believe that if the CCRB trial never happened, we would never know a part of the investigation, the text messages, and basically the cover-up.
I want to turn to the mayor of New York City. I want to turn to Bill de Blasio, speaking yesterday, now a Democratic presidential candidate, responding to the firing of Pantaleo.
We must devote ourselves to this simple goal, that no person No family, no community should ever go through the agony that we've all experienced here over these last years. It should never happen again in this city or this country. That is the only goal that is acceptable. Let this be the last tragedy.
Emerald, your response to the mayor?
Mayor de Blasio, I think that we have a lot of work to do. You know, like, I still will feel like, you know, I'm forever going to feel like he had the power to fire the cop from day one. So, you know, all of this is just the after effect. We have been asking for him to be fired for 5 years, and Mayor de Blasio had the power to do that, and he chose not to.
He says he had to wait for this investigation. He says he had to wait first for the Justice Department to bring charges, and then for the police department within their own department to make a decision.
I feel like people have choices. I feel like I would like to see the proof. I would like to see a document that said that you had to wait for the federal judge to do what they were supposed to do.
Let me go to Patrick Lynch, the head of New York's police union, condemning the decision to fire Officer Pantaleo. He spoke at the news conference Monday where he stood in front of an upside-down NYPD flag.
It's absolutely essential that the world know that the New York City Police Department is rudderless and frozen. The leadership has abandoned ship and left our police officers on the street, alone, without backing. There is no confidence in their leadership at City Hall and One Police Plaza. We are following up that with a call to the governor to have the mayor removed from office for malfeasance and nonfeasance. He abandoned his post. He refuses to do his job and has joined the anti-police rhetoric that we already know got 2 police officers killed. Now has caused the street to disrespect our uniform and the women and men wearing it.
So that's Patrick Lynch, head of New York's police union. Your response?
So he's saying that de Blasio left the police officers out on the street alone. Eric Garner was left on the street to die, and that's on video. So if they're saying that the mayor abandoned them and they're so angry that a police officer broke the rules and got penalized for it, that's really what the problem is. The problem is they never thought in a million years that this cop would be fired because of a black man. And I think that's honestly what they thought. And the fact that he is fired, it makes them upset because it's like we've been getting away with it for so long, so who are you to tell us to stop doing what we're doing? And that's just how I take the whole situation, because a wrong was done. Like at some point you have to stop and say, Eric Garner was killed for no reason. He could have been saved. They neglected to save him.
You've been pushing for Eric Garner's law. What is that?
The Eric Garner law is basically banning the chokehold and any other terminology used to describe anything other than a chokehold. So what was basically said during the trial was that it was a seatbelt maneuver or a seatbelt technique, and it's like, you know, a chokehold is a chokehold. You can't call it anything other than a chokehold. The medical examiner ruled it a chokehold. The judge basically said a chokehold. And in the press conference that London did after the judge made the ruling, he called it a chokehold. So I mean, like he took it back, but he already said it. He said chokehold, I mean seatbelt removal. So he called it a chokehold himself. So they know exactly that this is a chokehold. And the Eric Garner law will put into place that federally and locally you will be banned from using a chokehold, and if you are, you will be immediately terminated and prosecuted.
Your family, Emerald, has been fighting for justice since the day that Eric Garner was taken down in this chokehold on July 17th, 5 years ago. We came up in the elevator together,
yes.
And I was looking at your T-shirt, which is a picture of your older sister, Erica.
She's not here to see this.
Erica sat in that seat where you are a number of times.
I was just like, you know, when you guys reached out to me, I was like, you know, that's Erica's place. that's her place at home, and she was not here to see this. And it's important for me to make sure that people remember that she is the real warrior for justice. She is the real lioness of the family. She was the one that led the charge. It was because of Erica that the CCRB even had a trial, because she was pushing for it so hard.
The Civilian Complaint Review Board.
Yes.
Erica died in 2017 after an asthma-induced heart attack 4 months after giving birth to her second child, your nephew. And there's a picture of him on the back.
The children are on the back. So a now 10-year-old and a soon-to-be 2-year-old. He'll be 2 on Sunday.
Well, I wanted to go to Erica, then 27 years old, speaking on Democracy Now! In 2016.
I've protested, I've spoke on panels, I traveled across this nation, I exhaust all avenues. I even endorsed Bernie Sanders to get my message out. And it's like, we keep having a conversation. I exhausted for 2 years, and you know, how much talking do we need to have? The Black Lives Matter movement been very compassionate, patient, and basically begging the nation, you know, we are under attack as Black people. We are being gunned down every day, and these officers are not being held accountable. And no charges, from Tamir Rice to my dad to Freddie Gray, you know, has been.
That's Eric Garner, then 27 years old. Emerald, I know it's hard to contain yourself watching your sister.
That was unexpected.
You are also 27 now.
Yes, I'll be 27 in December.
Can you talk about the journey your family has been on since the horror of that day in Staten Island when the police killed your father?
It's been super hard, you know, between interviews and going out to speak and stuff like that. It's like you're reliving the moment multiple times, and you're like doing it over and over and over and over again. And at one point, I was just like, you know, I feel like I'm traumatizing myself over and over and over again by talking about it. But then I realized, like, if I don't talk about it, nobody's going to know about it. Like, people don't know about the things that you don't talk about. So I think that it's great that, you know, a lot of people are talking about it, keeping up the momentum. Like, you know, it's hard to, it's like people forget. Like, you know, there was a point where the cameras went away and, you know, all of the protesting and everything pretty much went silent. And it was like, after all of that happens, I'm still a human being. I'm still dealing with the loss of my sister, the loss of my father, the loss of my father's stepfather. And it's like, you know, it's just losses all around. And it's like sometimes, like, you know, when am I going to stop taking losses? And I feel like we didn't take a loss when Commissioner O'Neill decided to fire Pantaleo. I feel like we got the W instead of the L.
And what about the other officers involved with that moment, the killing of your father?
We will be seeking the same process, which is to have a CCRB, our Civilian Review Board, bring up a trial against those officers and bring out the evidence from their testimonies and their statements from the day they pretty much killed my father, or let my father be that, but let him be killed.
And your message to Mayor de Blasio?
I don't think I even have any more messages for Mayor de Blasio, because at this point it's like you dropped the ball, and it's like there's no getting around it. Like, you absolutely dropped the ball.
The debate, the last presidential debate,
yes.
People protested in the debate hall in Detroit.
Yes. And that I was very happy for that. Like, my phone was blowing up. Like, you know, did you hear that your father's name is being called at the debate? Did you hear them say fire Pantaleo? And I was like, you know, I feel like, you know, that made a stand, because I'm one person. I can't be everywhere. So if someone else can go somewhere and make some noise, I'm happy for it. I appreciate it a lot, because I'm only one person.
Well, you are one person who has done such an enormous amount, and I think it would have also made your older sister, Eric Garner, so proud. I want to thank you very much for being with us, Emerald Garner, the daughter of Eric Garner, African-American Staten Island resident who was killed 5 years ago this summer by New York City police officers. Daniel Pantaleo, the police officer who killed Garner by using an illegal chokehold, was fired Monday and stripped of his pension benefits.